I don't remember the sound that killed me. People always think death is loud, sirens, explosions, a final scream, but for me, it was quiet, a groan of metal, a snap, and then stillness. 1 minute, I was running down the back stairwell of the framework tower with a half-eaten bacon bagel in my hand, trying to beat the fire alarm evacuation. The next, the concrete fell like sand around me, and nobody came back. Here's what people don't tell you about dying. You're conscious long after your body stops. Maybe it's adrenaline, or ego, or maybe it's just your brain playing reruns, like the world's most depressing Netflix binge. By the time the rescue made it to the sub-basement 2 days later, they'd already declared the search closed. Corporate said it was unstable. HR said it was a tragedy. The headline said miraculously few deaths reported. Not zero. Just few. I was the few, except I wasn't supposed to stay dead. I woke up 13 months later, not in a hospital, not in a coffin, just sitting on my old couch. Same studio apartment, same burnt coffee ring on the side table, same stack of unopened mail. The world kept turning. It just turned without me. I blinked. Tried to stand. Fell flat on the floor and knocked over my bookshelf, which wasn't even the weird part. The weird part was what I saw when I looked at my own reflection in the TV screen. Not a scar. Not a bruise, just a soft, glowing line, diagonal across my chest, right where the beam had crushed me, like some kind of light fracture. A seam. Still burning. I did what any normal, back-from-the-dead ex-office drone would do. I Googled, resurrection real? Woke up after death? Hallucinations after trauma? Reddit was useless. ChatGPT couldn't help. My mom didn't answer. My dad had never really been programmed to. And Jason, my inexplicably loyal old roommate, thought I was hacking him at first when I messaged. Bro. I saw them close your casket. This is a sick game. I had no response, because honestly, yeah, it was sick. I just didn't know who was playing yet. 3 days passed before I noticed the fragments. At first, I thought everyone was just wearing AR tags, floating little neon shapes above their heads. Different colors, shifting patterns. But they weren't visual effects. They didn't go away. Not when I blinked. Not when I turned off every electronic device in the room. They were just there. My neighbor, the grumpy guy in 4B who always grabbed other people's Amazon packages, his tag read, "I cheated the system." They still think it was cancer. My HR rep from Framework who once cried during layoffs, I hated firing them, but I liked the power. Even the girl behind the deli counter at Whole Foods, they never learned my name, but I remember all of theirs. They weren't thoughts. Not exactly. They were more like truth fragments. Pieces people were holding on to, just quietly enough that no one else could see them. Except now, I could. On day 5, I stopped asking if I was crazy. Because truthfully, crazy people don't get scar lines of light across their chest and wake up with exactly 365 days left to live. How do I know? Because the voice in my living room mirror told me. She stepped out during sunrise, barefoot on tile, like she'd been summoned by the leftover grief in the cracks of this place. She looked not real, not like a ghost, not alive either. "Eli Walker," she said, like reading me out loud. "You have returned, but not as a reward." She traced the line glowing across my chest with her fingertip, without touching it. "You're a glitch, a balance." Then she smiled like a storm. "You've got 1 year to give the truth back to the living, before time claims you permanently." I was still sitting there when she left. No guidance. No explanation. No restart button, just me, my second shot at life, and a world full of people with secrets floating above their heads. It's a weird thing realizing you weren't missed. There's no card waiting. No shrine built in your honor. No voicemail from someone saying, "I knew something was off." They cried. They mourned. They moved on, and now that I'm back, they flinch before they hug, smile before they pause, say, "You look great." While their core truths float like smoke above their heads, I see what they really mean now. My first visit was home. Where else do you go when the universe gives you a second shot at existence? I stood on the porch of the house I grew up in, sleeve tugged over my scar, hoping my mom would just know. Feel it in that mother instinct way women in books do. She opened the door, stopped mid-sentence, then stared. like she'd seen a ghost she wasn't sure she missed. Eli? Hi, Mom, she blinked hard, stepped forward like her eyes were playing games then. She hugged me, a long, slow hug. The kind where you can feel the questions dripping off someone. I fought to hold it together until I saw it, hovering just inches above her shoulder, a bluish fragment. Like glass. I told myself I did everything I could, but I knew I didn't. We sat at the kitchen table. She made French toast. Too much cinnamon, like always. That mark, she said, pointing to my chest. Scar from the rescue team? Yeah. Something like that. She turned toward the sink. Didn't press. Didn't ask why there was no funeral or why my body looked the same. She just muttered something about fate and left the room. Above her back, the fragment flickered. I thought you were someone else when I got the call. I almost felt relieved. I left early, not because I was mad, but because that hurt more than death did. Next stop, Jason, my old roommate. Best man at the wedding I never had. Guy who kept my plants alive the first week I vanished. I texted him first. Got time? He called in seconds. He opened his apartment door in gym shorts, barefoot, nearly dropped his phone when he saw me. Eli? What the? I thought you were gone. Like, actually, apparently not permanently, we sat. Laughed too loud too soon. Caught up on small things before anywhere near the big ones, until I asked, do you remember that day? He quieted. The building? He said, everyone ran. Everyone said you went up instead of down. Did anyone try to find me? He looked at the floor. Didn't answer that one. The fragment spiraling above his head was blood red. I knew he was still inside. But I froze. I made it out. He didn't. That's on me. Hey, he added, snapping out of it. This is amazing. You're here. Maybe you were just meant to come back stronger, like a reboot. Yeah, I muttered. Feels great. I stayed for dinner. Watched his girlfriend avoid eye contact. Her fragment blinked. I had a crush on him before he died. I still do. I feel disgusting. Back outside, I sat on a park bench, wind rustling. Phone still silent. Nobody else knew yet, but I could feel it. I wasn't the same. Not just because I died, but because I couldn't stop seeing them anymore. People not for how they smiled, but for what they were too afraid to say. The truth. Fragments weren't there for me to hurt people with, not yet. But the longer they hovered, the more I wondered. Was I the only liar back then? Or the only honest one who couldn't see it? I didn't come back to be a savior. I didn't come back to seek revenge, but something had brought me here, and it didn't bring me back to forget. He was the only one who looked back. Among the blur of people running down the smoky halls, Jason looked over his shoulder. But Aaron? Aaron didn't even stop. Not when the building shook, not when I shouted his name. I found him 3 weeks after I came back, on his LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn. Because apparently if someone watches you die and never tells anyone that you were still alive for a few minutes longer, they don't lose their job. They get promoted. He was now a communications director at a mid-size agency, still in New York, still perfect hair, still writing cold-as-glass press statements for disasters he didn't feel. I'm not sure what I expected when I messaged him. Honestly? A block or silence. Or a reply like, who is this? This isn't funny. You're sick, but instead I got this. Eli? Please tell me this is actually real. We met at a cafe 2 blocks from my old place. I watched him walk in. Same black coat. Same perfect posture like he's posing even on accident. His eyes scanned the room. Thoughtful. Scared. When he saw me, he smiled like a man who forgot how. Holy crap, he said, sliding into the seat. Is it really you? I nodded once. You didn't fake it, right? You're not like some elaborate thing one of those prank channels does? You think I'm a YouTube prank? He laughed nervously. I don't know what to think, man. I didn't go to the funeral. I couldn't. Jason said it was closed coffin. I just assumed. He trailed off. Didn't finish his sentence. I watched his core truth like it was a documentary. Radiant orange, flickering just left of his collarbone. I saw him trapped. I ran anyway. Beneath it, smaller like a subtitle, I don't regret running, but I regret surviving without guilt. I need to ask you something, I said, fingers tracing the paper sleeve of my coffee. He looked up. When you saw me that day, did you know I was still alive? Aaron exhaled, long and hard. Honestly? Please be. I wasn't sure. But I saw your hand move, I think. And I knew I couldn't help. The building was coming down, Eli. I made a call. I hate it, but I made it. No spin. No hero monologue, just the facts. You could have shouted for help. I know. You could have told someone I was in there. He looked at me. Eyes glossy now. I thought you were going to die no matter what. And I didn't want that guilt to multiply. So He swiped a hand down his face. I ran. His truth fragment shifted. Deeper red now. I still check the memorial wall every year, even though I don't believe I deserve to. I nodded, not because I forgave him, but because I finally believed him. You're still you, I said. He laughed. You mean a coward? No, I mean human. I stood up. Tossed the last sip of my coffee, but don't worry. I'm just here to read the truth, not rewrite it. He looked up sharply. So, what now? Now? I smiled a little. Small, thin. Now I disappear again, but this time on my terms. Hours later, I found myself walking through Midtown like a tourist in a city I used to call home, people everywhere, compartmentalizing grief, balancing loyalty with survival, hiding guilt under to-do lists. And here I was, reading them like glass, the girl holding her boyfriend's hand. I cheated last week and couldn't stop crying in the shower. The barista who smiled a little too wide. If I hit my sales goal, maybe my dad will call me again. The man handing change to a homeless guy. Maybe this makes up for what I didn't do last year. It wasn't that people were bad. It wasn't about forgiveness or shame or karma. It was just, so many of us are haunted and walking around hoping no one notices the blood on our fingertips. Aaron wasn't a monster for leaving. He was just a mirror. And now that I'd seen his truth, mine stung a little less. She returned at 3:03 a.m., because of course she did. It's always 3 a.m. for things like this. Mirror apparitions don't do afternoons. I was brushing my teeth, half asleep, when the mirror blurred like the glass turned to water. Then Ava stepped through, barefoot, hair like ripples of static, wearing the same inhuman calm she had the day I woke up. Still pretending this is normal? She asked. I spit out toothpaste. This is your follow-up visit? I mumbled. Am I due for an upgrade or a breakdown? She smiled. Strange and soft, neither. You've reached clarification phase. Cool. Will there be a PowerPoint? No, she said. Just your lifespan. Silence. She stepped closer, pointing at the faint glow still burning across my chest. That's your tether, she said. The line between your two deaths. I get two? You've used one, she said bluntly. And in roughly 11 months and 22 days you'll use the second, unless you fulfill the condition. I blinked. The what? Complete the truth cycle. Right, I scoffed. That clears up nothing. She narrowed her empty glow eyes. You're not back because you're special, Eli. You're back because someone left a question unanswered. And you're the punctuation, I stared blankly. Is this reincarnation or a creative writing workshop? She ignored that. You're not immortal. You're not a prophet. You're not even remarkable. Well, that's motivating. You're a glitch. A pause. She stepped to the window and exhaled like the city wind belonged to her. For 365 days, she said, you walk among the breathing. You'll see what they don't, you'll feel what they hide. But if you don't close the loop, the time you've been given will collapse around you. You mean I die? No, she said. You unhappen. That word hit differently. I sat down on the edge of my bed. So what do? Hug my enemies? Light candles? Lick karma into a napkin? Ava blinked slowly. You use your gift. Not to hunt. Not to harm. To witness. Witness what? The moment someone finally tells you the truth. Wait, I said, heart pounding. Someone owes me the truth? She smiled. That's the best part of this glitch. You're not hunting your killer. You're discovering who chose not to save you. And for a second, for the first time since I came back, I felt like maybe this wasn't punishment. Maybe it was permission. Eva walked toward the mirror again, her form already flickering into static. Can I ask you one more thing? I said, standing. She paused. Why me? To remind the living, she said, that death isn't the end. Then softer. It's the test. What they do with the truth afterward? That's the grade. She vanished through my mirror like steam. I touched the glass. Cold. The next morning, I wrote down the exact moment she said it. I'm one answer away from peace. 1 year. Who could have saved me but didn't? I don't know if it was a best friend, a stranger, or someone I thought would cry the hardest but walked away fastest. But I'm going to find them, and when I do, maybe that will explain why I'm still burning. I thought telling the truth would feel like justice, that peeling back a lie would taste clean, sharp, necessary. Instead, it felt like dropping a match in a room soaked with gasoline, then watching someone else burn from the explosion. Her name was Ellie Crane. She worked at the bakery near 7th and Rosewood. Every morning she handed me a box of day-old muffins and made polite jokes about how I was keeping the carbs alive. She smiled like someone who used hope as currency. Her truth fragment floated muted above her like fog that never left, not glowing. Not dark, just stuck. He didn't cheat. I made it up to keep him with me. I didn't mean to trigger it. We got to talking one day. I mentioned how I could just tell when someone was lying. She laughed, then frowned, and I saw it rise. That sentence, vapor-shaped and trembling, alive. It haunted me all day, that one. Sentence, 8 words that unraveled everything she thought. She controlled about her past, so I told her gently, quietly, sitting on the bench beside the farmer's market. I didn't need to say how I knew, just that I knew, and then I waited. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at her lap like it had become a trap door. Then her voice cracked. I loved him. But I didn't think he'd stay if he knew I was broken. She wiped her eyes. I told my friends he cheated, backed off, stayed away, but he never did. Not once. The tear fell slowly, like it didn't want to make a scene. I thought it was progress, exposure, acknowledgement. But the next day, she quit her job, disconnected all her social media, vanished. Rumors circulated that she left town, needed a reset. But I knew what happened. I gave her truth, and no one was there to hold it. I saw her again a week later outside a late-night pharmacy, eyes hollow, buying 3 bottles of melatonin and lying to the clerk that they were for her sister. Her truth fragment? Knew now. If I told anyone, they'd only leave me faster. That's when it hit me. When you break open a truth, you better have hands ready to hold what comes out, because sometimes truth isn't a rescue. It's an autopsy. I sat in the rain that night. Didn't even bother going home, just watched headlights swim across puddles and wondered, am I the hero in someone else's story? Or the final shove they were trying not to feel? Ava didn't come. No flickering neon eyes. No riddles. No magic glitch in the mirror. Just me, getting soaked. I walked home cold, wet, quiet, didn't document it. Didn't mark it down, just whispered one promise under my breath. Next time. I won't pull the truth out unless I'm ready to catch it. But part of me already knew. You don't control the truth once it's loose. You just hope it leaves something behind other than silence. She was the only other name I remembered from the reports. Claire Navarro, 25, marketing assistant. Section C, same stairwell. Barely made it out. I was Section D. 1 wall away, 2 stories down, 6 feet too deep. Her photo had made the rounds in news cycles. Bandaged forehead, dust in her hair, shaky smile, the miracle survivor. The headlines loved her. I didn't plan to run into her. I wasn't stalking news clippings anymore, not since Ellie, but fate has the kind of humor you only catch after the punchline. There she was. Crossing the parking lot of a hardware store, no makeup, shoulders tense. I almost didn't say anything, almost let her disappear like the files people archive but never open again. But she saw me and stopped. Eli? I froze. She dropped the box in her arms, metal pieces spilled. A sharp clatter dragged the silence between us even wider. No, she whispered. No, that's not. My memory's wrong. You died, maybe, I said. But I got returned unopened. She blinked fast, twice, then tears, immediate, uncontrolled. She sat on her own bumper, covering her face, whispering, I'm sorry, like it was stuck on repeat. I didn't know what to say. I'd come in angry. half hoping her truth fragment would scream I left him, or I ran, or I didn't yell loud enough. It didn't. The fragment that hovered, pulsing violet like a bruise, was quieter. If I hadn't pushed him, I'd be dead too. A flash, quick. Memory I hadn't cataloged yet. Someone behind me during the chaos. Voices yelling. Weight slamming into my shoulder as I turned, a second before the wall cracked. She pushed me. You saved me, I said, too late for comfort. She shook her head. I didn't mean to. I just panicked. I thought you'd get up. I thought you were a step away from the exit. I thought, you don't have to explain. I do. She snapped, then softened. You were the only one not screaming. You were calm. We all lost it. You just stood there. Someone had to hold the panic. We sat for a while. No more talking. Just traffic and air between timelines. She offered me a ride. I didn't take it. I walked home, fragment above my own head glowing faintly now. She didn't leave me. She sent me back in my apartment. I stared at my reflection. Pale, thin, alive, whatever that even meant. Eva hadn't shown in weeks. My counter hit 298 days remaining, the way this was going. I was either going to run out of time or run into the truth so hard, the crash would feel familiar. But now there was something worse than realizing they left you to die. It was realizing someone took your place and lived every moment since, wondering if that made her a thief or a reason. And maybe the truth is, we were both. I didn't plan to go viral. I just wanted a coffee. It was a Thursday, 2 blocks from the place I died. Same cafe, same music, same luck. Burned my tongue on the first sip. Some things never change, but one thing had. The barista's iPad screen had an article paused at the top. The thumbnail hit like a slap. I survived the collapse. His death changed my life. By dilution, my name wasn't in the headline. But the photo? It was my face. A cropped photo from a company page. Smile intact. Dead behind my eyes, I clicked the link before I even took another sip. She told the story beautifully. The brave staff who escaped. The quiet employee who didn't. She called me Ezra, a fake name. Still, it was me. She said I inspired her to stop playing it safe, to chase her dream. She wrote a book. She was booking speaking gigs. She was selling my ghost. I walked out before I could smash the phone against the table. Back home, I paced. Searched, framework collapse, corporate ghost, unfinished story, a dozen posts. Thousands of shares. One girl had tattooed my death quote, except I never had a death quote. A whisper in the back of my mind said, this world doesn't owe you peace. And the louder one said, but it owes you your name. I found her Instagram, the Lucian voice. Bio, speaking truth through tragedy. DMs open, I typed, hi, I know who Ezra is. We should talk, she replied in 10 minutes. At first, she thought I was a troll. Then she video called. The look on her face when she saw me, shock, then rapid blinking. I recognized it, regret reheated. I didn't know, she whispered. You didn't ask. I found your photo online. It linked to a building registry site. I changed the name because I thought you wouldn't care. I didn't think anything because I was dead. Her face crumpled. That article funded your speaking tour? Yes, now I'm speaking. She nodded once. Can we meet? I said yes, but I brought my documentation. My photo, my timeline. And the truth? I didn't want an apology. I wanted a platform. We met in Bryant Park. It was weird, surreal. Behind her warm cardigan and Pinterest smile, the fragment floated. If I stop telling the story, the world will stop listening to me. I gave her a choice. Tell them the truth, I said. Or I'll post it first. She stared at me long. Will they believe you? I'm not here for belief, I said. I'm here for balance. 2 days later, her update post dropped. I've been asked to hand over my platform. Ezra is real. And he's alive. I'll let him speak now. It wasn't explosive, no cancellation, no outrage. But the shift? Real people started following me. Messaging me. Not because I shouted, but because I knew something they didn't. How delicate a lie feels in your hands once you realize it was never yours to hold. Eva showed up that night. Mirror flicker. Cold glass breath. Proud? She asked. No, I said. Settled. She nodded. You're learning. How much time do I have left? 262 days. Plenty. I whispered. More than I had before. And this time, I wasn't just burning from the truth, I was becoming the fire itself. I thought I was the only one, the only ghost. The universe hit undo on. The only one walking through the world with fragments floating in his eyes and a count ticking down in his chest. But then I met him. Zane. First time I noticed him. I thought he was just another TikTok street prophet. Broad-shouldered, black coat, silver ring on each finger. He stood on a park bench in front of a crowd in Union Square, spinning some polished message about truth and healing and being seen. Tourists clapped. Young guys called him Real AF. I felt it before I saw it, that faint hum in the air. That tug behind my ribs. He looked at someone in the crowd too long, and I saw it, a glowing fragment nosediving toward him like a moth to flame. But it didn't hover like they do for me. It poured into him, absorbed, no candor. No reflection, just swallowed whole. I tried to walk away. Not my circus. Not my countdown, but then his voice chased me from behind. I thought I was the only one, he said. I turned. His eyes didn't blink. His truth fragment floated right there above him, open like a dare. I don't fix anything. I just know how to hide the mess. We got coffee. His idea. I picked the place. Quiet. He ordered for me. I hated that. You know you're not cursed, right? Zane said. You know I didn't ask for conversational combat? He smirked, two ego bruises scratching at each other. I came back 6 months ago, he said. Also a building collapse? Overdose. At least mine was stylish, he laughed, cold, calculated. We swapped details at first, Eva. The time limit. The mirror, he had no Eva. No time limit. No mirror. I make my own terms, he said. You should too. I asked how he knew what people were hiding. He didn't explain, just said, I feel what they fear. And when you know what they fear, you never need to lie to them. He talked like half a cult leader, half a podcast intro. It bothered me, because it worked. I don't expose them like you, he said. I guide. You manipulate. He leaned back. Is that what your scar is? Morality? Or just revenge you've been polishing long enough to call righteous? That hit harder than I wanted to admit. What's your timer at? I asked. He grinned. You think I kept mine? You don't have 365? I threw my clock out the second they let me back in, but I saw it tick faintly beneath his collarbone. Red. Not. White like mine. His was faster. No days, just hours. Zane lied. You're almost done, I whispered. He froze for the first time, then he smiled wider. Or maybe I'm just getting started. That night I couldn't sleep. His words echoed. You don't need the truth. You need control. I never wanted control. I wanted understanding. Closure. Maybe forgiveness? But Zane? He wanted to write the script and own the stage. And I realized something terrifying. Not all returned souls want to make peace with the truth. Some want to weaponize it. I checked the mirror at 2:17 a.m. Eva didn't appear, but I whispered anyway. You sent me back to find a final truth. What if someone else was sent back to burn the world that hid it? There was no reply, just my reflection, scarred, awake, staring, and for the first time since I'd come back, I didn't feel like a glitch in the system. I felt like the antivirus. And Zane? He was the virus evolving faster than the cure. I sat with the letter in my hands for 20 minutes before writing a single word. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't know if it would matter. Would she even read it? Would she recognize my name? Would it open old wounds she'd pretend were scars? Her name was Michelle, my mother. People assume grief is immediate, but sometimes it's so slow you barely notice it's happening, like dissolving sugar in cold water. It takes longer, but it disappears just the same. She didn't call much after the funeral. Didn't text again after Jason told her there was no body. At first I thought it was shock. Then I realized it was habit. I had no memory of anything she said at my memorial, only that she didn't organize it and didn't come back to my apartment. Afterward, Jason did. Mom sent flowers. When I came back, I avoided her like she was a volcano I hadn't decided how close I needed to stand to yet, but tonight I wrote, Hi, Mom, I'm still alive. Not literally, I couldn't. There's no way to explain you thought I died. The system glitched, and now I see everyone's ghosts, but not really. Instead, I wrote from a place deeper than facts. I wrote from pain, from confusion, from a desire not to accuse, but be heard. You weren't unkind, just absent. It wasn't your silence that broke me, it was how closely it mirrored mine. You taught me to bury emotions like dead pets, neatly, respectfully, and never to be spoken of again. You didn't fail me, but you never warned me what it feels. Like to die with no one calling your name. I signed it with nothing, no return. Address, no phone number, just Eli. I left it beneath her door before sunrise. No knock, no witness, just delivery. That night, Eva appeared again, mirror cracking first. Her voice softer this time. Letting go? Trying. You didn't demand anything from her. I wasn't owed anything. She nodded. Growth looks good on you. How much time do I have? She stepped forward. Tapped the air like swiping a screen. 87 days. Less than 3 months left. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was fading. I felt like I was forming into something sharper, not revenge, not survival, just someone real. The sky felt heavier that day. Not stormy, just thick. Like the air knew something was about to leave. Maybe me, maybe not. My countdown read, 1 day left, never glowed. Never beeped. Just faded, steady digits behind my left eye, something only I could see. They never moved faster. Never paused, just reminded me, borrowed time still has to be returned. I walked through the city like I was seeing it for the first time. Children without secrets. Couples with matching fears. Businessmen with bags under their eyes darker than their suits. Every truth fragment flickered like background music I'd finally come to tune out. Except one. My own. For months, there'd been nothing above my head when I looked in mirrors. Not a name. Not a color. Not a word, just a blank reflection. But now? Now it said, you didn't come back to be heard. You came back to listen. I sat in the same cafe from day one. Same seat. Same corner. The barista, new, young, tired, gave me the wrong drink. And I didn't correct her. Some things don't need fixing. Eva arrived at exactly 9:59 p.m. Mirrors stopped scaring me after month 2. She didn't knock, didn't glitch, just stepped out like she always belonged in the corners of my story. Is it done? I asked. You tell me, she said. I thought of Zane. Gone. His clock had burned out weeks ago. I never found his body, never found closure. Maybe that was the closure. You can chase every lie and still not find your peace. Because peace doesn't live in endings. It lives in echoes. Why me? I asked. You weren't chosen, Eva replied. You were necessary. For what? To prove the world still deserves to be known. She reached out her hand. I didn't flinch. Not this time. How does it end? I whispered. Eva tilted her head. It doesn't. But you do. And just like that, the clock hit 0. No pain. No fade. Just light swallowing everything gently. When people search my name now, they don't find headlines. They find a forum, a blog, a note someone saved. If you've ever doubted what you felt, don't. Just because they didn't see your pain doesn't mean you imagined it. Truth exists, and so do you. I wasn't saved. I was sent back just long enough to teach others to live with their eyes open, and maybe that was all the miracle I needed.